Okay, let's talk about behavior. Let's talk about when our kiddos are not listening, when they maybe aren't following a direction, a task that you know that they're capable of, and they're just not following through. So let's take an instance where our kiddo is playing or walking about the house, doing their thing, and it's time to get ready to go and they need to get their shoes on. So we want to make sure first that they understand the language. And you may think to yourself, well, of course they understand the language. They do this, when they want to go out, when they want something, they'll get their shoes on right away. And that may be the fact, but that's also maybe because it's part of the routine before they leave the house to get in the car. So we want to make sure just that they understand the language. If you're clear that your child understands the direction, then we want to make sure that we are giving that direction solely as a one step, right? So if it's part of a long string of directions, put away your toys, get your shoes in the car. Or maybe you're talking to their siblings at the same time. Particularly for kiddos who may have a receptive language delay or possibly ADHD or some kind of processing, this might be a lot for a kiddo to filter through. So you just want to make sure that they are listening at the time you're giving that direction. And this could be something as simple as having them repeat it back to you, just to make sure that they're listening. It's important to remember when you're giving a direction that you are doing so at the level in which your child is able to receive that information and process it. So if they do not yet follow two-step directions, you want to make sure you're just giving the one direction at that time. So as opposed to go get your jacket, grab your shoes and put them on, it would just be go put your shoes on, and then you can then give the next direction if there is another one to be given after that, just to make sure that they are indeed understanding that information that you're giving them, because it can get lost if there are too many elements to the direction. They may lose the one and then get frustrated and then just shut down and stop doing what they're doing. Now, if you get to the point of just straight refusal, where it's, no, I don't want to, I'm not doing it, then we kind of ease our way into offering choices. Now, if this is a consistent over time refusal behavior, we can just start with offering choices. Do you want to put your shoes on first or get your jacket? Do you want help getting your shoes on? Do you want mom or dad to help you? Or do you want your sibling to help you? Sometimes just offering choice can ease that burden, that where they feel like they're given a demand and they just don't want to follow through with it. So, and then always offering help. Maybe putting their shoes on is hard for them and it's frustrating and it's a struggle and they just don't feel like dealing with it. So, giving a little leeway and saying, okay, well, if I can help you with it, and then we can do it together, and then all the better, and then you move on. Giving choice is always a good idea, particularly when presenting a child with a task or a chore or routine that they are not always amicable to. So, do you want this or do you want this? Do you want to do this first or this next? Those are always good ways to help the child feel empowered by making a choice, but you're also getting what you need done too. So allowing that child to feel that empowerment and that choice is usually a very helpful way to avoid non-compliant or refusal type behaviors. Now, there are times when you are going to come up against just complete refusal. And this is an instance where you need to decide how far you're going to go in the follow through of that direction. Now, of course, there are times we have to leave the house, we have to get the shoes on. So that could be maybe after 3 times of asking, then you'll let them know, okay, well, now I'm gonna help you and help sit them down and get their shoes on. So we just wanna be cautious and careful with how we are delivering our instructions and just being consistent over time. So what if you think you have one of those kiddos that just pushes back just to get a reaction? This is when it's extremely important to just be consistent in your responses time and again. This is where it's maybe time to step back as a parent and think about your reactions to behaviors and really try to cultivate some phrases that you can use over and over again and just practice using those. The more consistent that we can be and the more predictable we can be with that structure for our kiddos, the more comfortable that they will be, and will hopefully over time stop pushing back so much, looking for that conflict. Now remember, it's fine, it's normal, it's okay for them to push back. They're exerting their independence, their will, their choice. So this is just where, as parents, we need to take some patience, take some breaths, and help them to learn to make good choices. There are some kiddos who appear to refuse a request or routine or task just simply to refuse that task. It appears that they want to have some sort of conflict. They want to see what's going to happen. They appear to thrive on that conflict with their parents. And I think this is very typical. It's a very normal behavior for kids to push limits and push boundaries with their parents. So just know that that's normal and that your kiddos are testing your boundaries. So that's why, it's so important time and time again when you come up against this to respond in the same manner, being as calm and as clear as you can be with your directions, and then also following through with any consequences that there might be. So whether that's, if you don't clean up your Legos, then we won't get to play with Legos again for a week or a day or until tomorrow, or whatever, your decision is on what that consequence would be. And also, you want to remember to pick your battles. So do they absolutely need to follow through with this, or is you don't have time to deal with this battle right now? So you can give in. That's okay. I always recommend that if you're going to give in, you give in right away. You don't allow that tantrum and that refusal behavior to go on long, because that will become a repeated pattern where that child will then put that in their repertoire and say, oh, it was 5 minutes last time and then she gave in, or it was 10 minutes and then she gave in. So they may push and push and push until you give in. So I always say, if you're gonna give in right away, because maybe you just don't have time for it. But when you are gonna follow through, you really need to make sure you have that time to follow through, and that you are following through with the consequence that you gave. So also, as parents, we do need to take a step back and think before we give a consequence, just to make sure that we are able to follow through with that consequence. There are some refusal behaviors that are a lot more delicate. So things such as refusing to go to the bathroom, or refusing to eat their dinner, or refusing to go to bed. Those are 3 instances where you would really want to have consultation with your pediatrician or a specialist regarding these behaviors, because these are not typical refusal type behaviors. These have to do with their health and their well-being. And so you would want to treat these differently than you would solely a refusal behavior for a task like cleaning up or putting your shoes on or wearing a jacket. So overall, you want to remember to make sure that your child is listening, that they fully understand the direction, and that you are maybe giving choice as well as part of that task. If you know that you're going to come up against refusal, let's start with giving choice on how to complete the task, offering help, and making sure that we're prepared for any possible refusal that comes up.